Thank you for joining us on another program on this series as we reflect on the government's 2 years in office. At this time, I will be joined by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustapha, who is often referred to as the visionary person dealing with agriculture in the country and even across the Caribbean for the amount of development and transformation that we are seeing within the sector. Thank you so much, Minister, for taking time out to be here.
Thank you for inviting me in this program this afternoon.
All right, so at this time, I want us to reflect a little bit on the past as we look 2 years now, the government has been in office. August to 2020, can you describe to me what was inherited by the ministry? We did a 1 year program, actually, quite ironically, we did it together, and
Right.
we spoke about some of the development that happened within that year. But if we could go back to what was inherited so we can understand in the context of where we are today.
So first of all, Travis, I want to say that you captured it in two words just now, that we have seen a transformation of the agriculture sector. And that describe what we took over and where we are today. And when you look back almost 2 years ago, I think that the agriculture sector was moving downhill rapidly. We have seen a decline in all the other sectors within the agriculture sector. And that decline was moving, as I said, rapidly. Because when we left government in 2020, or when we came out of government in 2015, sorry, budgetary allocation in the agriculture sector was just around $18 billion. And when I became Minister of Agriculture in August of 2020, we took over a sector that just had roughly about $11 billion. So that said it all. Instead of increasing the budgetary allocation in the agriculture sector, we have seen a rapid decline. And that shows the commitment of the former government towards agriculture in our country. That is why we have seen a downhill spiral in the agriculture sector. We have seen Guyana had lost its place in terms of speaking and leading the agriculture sector in CARICOM. We have seen that many farmers would have leave the sector and go into other areas of activity, other economic areas, because they didn't see a future in the agriculture sector. And those sector, those agencies, or those what you call it, cooperation that were producing, we have seen they have produced because of the favorable weather condition during that time. For example, take for example the rice sector. We know for a fact that the rice farmers are very innovative. They will try to ensure as much as possible that they cut their land properly and they do the agriculture best practices, do it in a way that they will have better yield. And because of those practices that were done by the farmers, they were able to produce, what you call it, up their production a bit. But the support to the industry in terms of government support in building infrastructure, in looking to put in, making the necessary intervention was lacking seriously. So in short, the agriculture sector, what we have done, we have arrested the downward spiral of the agriculture sector. We have arrested the decline in the agriculture sector, so much so today that the agriculture sector in Guyana is one of the most important sector for us. People see a future today. We have seen a renewed interest in the agriculture sector. Those persons who would have called it a day prior to August of 2020 are now coming back in drove. We are having serious problem in terms of land issues now because many farmers now are demanding land. And with what is taking place in the Caribbean and what Guyana is offering to the Caribbean, agriculture in this country has become so attractive that now we are competing, although we don't have the kind of revenue stream that oil and gas brings to Guyana, but we are seeing a competition between agriculture and the oil and gas sector. We are seeing a lot of people coming back into the agriculture sector because also there are a lot of opportunities in the agriculture sector to ensure that we satisfy the needs in the agriculture, in the oil and gas sector. So in short, I think that we have moved the agriculture sector from a sector where it was very unattractive, a sector that was going down rapidly, to a sector that is now attractive, That's a sector that has whipped up a lot of interest and where we have seen a renewed interest from farmers and stakeholders around the country, and a sector that now has a bright future where the entire Caribbean is looking forward to Guyana for its leadership and for us also to contribute tremendously and largely to the reduction of the food import bill of the Caribbean.
Thank you for that, Minister. You mentioned a bright future. I want us to delve in to talk or discuss some of these interventions that was made by the government. Can you tell me over the 2 year span, perhaps some of the major milestones in agriculture that you were able to achieve, not only at the central ministry, but through the agencies which fall under your ministry's purview?
So first of all, I want to say that you will see a government interest in a sector with its expenditure. And I told you that within 5 years, we have seen a decline from 18 billion to $11 billion. Over the last 2 years, close to about 2 years, in three budgets, we had the emergency budget in 2020, then we had 2 full years budget in 2021, and now 2022. In those three budgets, we have had 18.5 billion, 22.5 billion, and 28.5 billion. Those are the amount of money totaling that we have already earmarked or have been expended in the agriculture sector. What we have done over time, well, first of all, we look at the problems that farmers are faced with, and you know for a fact that last year in 2021, we would have suffered one of the most devastating floods in the history of this country, and many farmers would have lost their crops. And when you look at climate change today, climate change is real in this part of the world. As a matter of fact, I have always been saying this. The Caribbean, and this part of this hemisphere here is the second most disaster prone area in the world. Outside of Asia and the Pacific is the Caribbean. So that means that Guyana don't suffer from hurricanes and volcanoes and things like that. But what we are suffering from floods. And it is very, very devastating when you look at farmers when they plant their crops and they cannot get to reap it. And that happens in 2021. That is why the government would have expended almost $7.8 billion to give back to farmers to go back to the land as quickly as possible. So we recognize one of the most important area in agriculture was to ensure that we build proper infrastructure. We have regular D&I system, we maintain them. We have drainage system that caters for 24-hour drainage, not only 8 and 6 hours now. So what we have done over time, we have boosted our fleet of machinery. Today we have hundreds of machineries across this country where we are using it to clear canals, impole the land, build dams, and ensure that farmers have better access to their farmland. We have purchased a number of pumps across the country to boost the drainage system. So what we have a number of sluices around the country, but these sluices operate on a tidal basis. So when the sluice open, just about 6 hours service, they give 6 to 8 hours. Then we put the pumps in action so that we can have better and faster drainage. And I want to say that I said this yesterday in the islands in the Essequibo River, and I told the farmers since I became Minister of Agriculture, I never had a 1 week that is dry so far. Every single day almost. This is the end of July, which is supposed to be one of the driest months of the year. We are still having heavy rainfall until today. So that shows that climate change is real, and we have to prepare for that. So what we have done, we have rehabilitated thousands of rods of canals around the country. We have built a number of critical structures for farmers so that they can have better drainage facility. We have prepared a number of dams and rehabilitate dams and access road so that farmers can have better access to their farmland. We have helped farmers work with them to develop better variety of planting materials and rice seedling so that farmers today, what we were able to do, move the national average from just around 39 bags per acres to now between 50, 55 to 60 bags per acre. That's a tremendous increase and improvement in the rice sector. Without cultivating more land or more acreage, we were able to improve and increase production because we are able to increase the yields per acre with new varieties, with better planting material, as I said, better seedling facility. We have opened up new drying facilities around the country. We have built new paddy seedling facilities. For example, in Blackbush Polder, we are now doing a brand new one there. So the farmers in Blackbush Polder, over 200 farmers will benefit from that seedling facility. We have one at number 56 and the quarantine that are preparing, that one is preparing seed for farmers and the quarantine area and in Region 6. We are now increasing the capacity in Region 5, where we are building a brand new one at Anvawak. You know, Region 5 is the largest rice growing area. We have close to about 100,000 acres of land that are available for planting in Region 5. We have one at Burma, the Rice Research Station, and we are doing another one in Anvawak there. So that will boost the system in Region 5. We are looking at Region 3 to ensure that we have a proper one in Region 3. We are helping to rehabilitate that one in Region 2 and Regina. So what I am doing eventually, that every region must have at least one seedling facility where it produces high quality seeds for the farmers to plant. Also, what I have done over time, over the last 2 years, or almost 2 years, we have tried to build nurseries across this country so that we can, what we have, what we were planting before, we consolidate and expand the traditional crops, fruits and vegetables. Now, not only in Guyana, and you'll see that the price for fruits and vegetables might have increased over time, then drop again because of the climatic condition and the problem farmers are faced with. The Ministry of Agriculture would have organized a number of farmers market so that we can bring down the cost of vegetables and fruits. But it is in high demand not only in Guyana but across the Caribbean. For example, I have visited Barbados on 2 or 3 occasions, and they wanted to get all the fresh fruits and vegetables from Guyana because they say that they don't want to import again from Latin America and Central America. We have seen the demand now from Trinidad and Tobago. We had those barriers that affect trades among Caribbean countries. With the establishment of the ministerial task force, of course, you know, His Excellency now is leading the agriculture agenda, leading food security in the Caribbean. And with his idea of establishing this ministerial task force, we are seeing now that the barriers among Caribbean countries and CARICOM countries are being removed slowly so that we can export and we can trade freely amongst Caribbean countries. Because of that, because Guyana is producing now 60% of the food that we consume, right? Because Guyana is producing that amount of food, our items and our products are in high demand in the Caribbean. Because things that they import from overseas, North America, Europe, Asia, we are growing it and produce it in Guyana. And we are seeing now that there are a lot of demands. Only yesterday, a ship left Guyana to go to Barbados to bring the first batch of black belly. And we had to send a number of coconut seedling, yam, sweet potato, eddos to Barbados because the demand there is high. So what I am saying that we have seen that we have moved Guyana from a subsistence farming where agriculture was unattractive, where people had lost hope in the agriculture sector, to one where now people are eager to go back to the land, people are eager to produce, and people are now having a lot of opportunities to have market for their produce, not only in Guyana, but to export it overseas. We are at the Barbados AgroFest that they had there. We have seen almost 100 Guyanese agro processors and farmers and manufacturers went there. We had, although it was held in Barbados, we have the largest delegation from Guyana, more than the Bajans, in that AgroFest. So that showed the commitment and the eagerness of the farming and agriculture sector to display their produce, to create opportunities for them to export. So that is why when I said that agriculture now is attractive, agriculture has a bright future, those are the things that I am referring to. Those are the things where the poor farmers, where farmers who never had see a future in agriculture, who are doing agriculture as a subsistence way of living, to just eke out a living for their families, they are today now earning hard-earned money, money that they never see before, that those things were in the agriculture sector. So agriculture is on its rise, as I said, and we can go into the various sector, but I want to say as Minister of Agriculture that we will ensure that we consolidate, we work with every farmers, and what we are doing, we are not only encouraging farmers to produce primary product. We are now encouraging our farmers to go to a new level of production. That is from primary to value added. Now, at the end of this year, we will commission almost 10 agro-processing facilities around the country. That will help our farmers to bring value, add value to their produce. Rather than from the farm to the market, you're from the farm to the processing facility to get market from the GMC and export the produce in a high value way so that they can get more revenue coming into them.
Thanks for that, Minister. You spoke a lot about opportunities there, and I want us to look at one specifically. We have seen through President Ali and you reinvigoration for agriculture, like you rightfully mentioned. I want to talk a little bit about youth in agriculture. Like you said, agriculture is now attractive. Everyone wants to be involved in it. And of course, with what we're seeing, the challenges posed by COVID-19, the rise in global freight costs, that is also making everyone more eager to start farming, even in their own kitchen gardens. Can you tell me how comfortable or happy you are that young people are now given an opportunity to be in agriculture, and what other opportunities lie within the sector that might be untapped at this moment that you plan on tapping into?
So first of all, as a government, and as you rightly say that His Excellency had this vision, as a government you have to have certain vision, certain plans that look, if you can, this can work, you have a plan B, or you have another plan to ensure that you build on what you have now. Now, when we look at the agriculture sector, not only in Guyana, but this is a trend around the world, especially in the Caribbean, we are seeing that the population or the persons doing agriculture or practicing agriculture, we are seeing a mature population. People like around from the late 40s upward. So when we analyze it, we say in another 10 years from now, the entire population in the agriculture sector will become old and the production will drop and things like that. So we have to prepare for the future. So the president came up with the idea of attracting young people, how we can attract young people. When we look at the tertiary institutions in our country, even the Caribbean, the University of the West Indies and things like that, we are seeing hundreds of agriculture graduates coming out every year. But where are these people? When you look at it, these people are behind a desk, pushing a pen and just talking about agriculture. Although they would have sat in a classroom for 2 years and 3 years for diploma and degrees, they are not utilizing that experience. They just come behind a desk and just do clerical work, so to speak, and just talk about agriculture behind a desk. So we thought it wise that we have to use a way to encourage, especially young Guyanese, to come back into agriculture. How we can do it? So CARICOM is saying that we want to reduce the food import bill. We have been given a task at the ministerial task force to look at ways to bring down the costs of the food import bill. So we have already started to prioritize commodities. What are the commodities that we will look at to reduce? So that, for example, things that we can produce in the Caribbean, we will avoid import it into the Caribbean. So we'll save those foreign exchange. So a number of those commodities, when you look at it, and we said that from the government perspective, from the president's vision, we said that, look, we can use these products to attract young people to come into the agriculture sector. So in Guyana, what we did, we look at 3 main high-value crops. We look at broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. When we look at the import bill last year, we would have imported $2.6 billion in those products. So we said, look, we can use this to help get the young people to come and start this production because it's high value, you can make a lot of money, and it's attractive. So we started to work with some young people who graduated from the University of Guyana as agronomists. We had some people from the Guyana School of Agriculture, and to date we have close to about 200 young people. Now we set up a company, the One Guyana Company, and there we have already built. We have an objective about building around approximately 300 shade houses. We have already built almost 54 of those shade houses, and we continue building. So they have already started to produce those high value crops. As a matter of fact, they have already started to sell those crops to places like the Marriott, the other hotels around the country. And we are seeing now more and more demands for those high value crops in the oil and gas sector. Because of the number of expats coming to live in Guyana, we need now product of a higher class, a better products that are better in quality. So what we have started out there, now we started it in Guyana, and we have been promoting it around the country. Now this is in demand across Guyana, not only in Region 4 we restarted it. We have over 200 young people in Region 4, but in places like Region 5, Region 6, Region 2, and so now we are having demands and people are requesting where we will work with them. The Ministry of Agriculture, through NARI, will work with them to build shade houses, but we can't only go to 3 crops. We have to go look at other crops, things like bell pepper, things like celery. Those are high value products, you understand? Lettuce and so. So we will work with these young people, but we are seeing this new interest now. People are now coming out and saying that, look, I am an agronomist. I want to get involved in agriculture. What is there for me? So these are the things there for you. So we are helping them to get into agriculture, and that will help us tremendously as a government and a country, because no matter which party or which government is in office, the young people, as long as you get the young people interested in agriculture, that will remain there, and the agriculture sector will continue to develop, and they have the theory already. They have the theory. They know now to put that into practice, and we will increase the various crops around the country. Now, in the ministerial task force, we look at poultry product. The Caribbean has been importing almost 98% of import coming out of the region. When you look at the capacity in the region, Guyana is self-sufficient. Barbados, Guyana, Suriname, Jamaica, Belize have the capacity to supply the entire Caribbean. So we say that we'll look at poultry. Poultry is one of the products that we will work with to ensure that we be self-sufficient in the Caribbean. But when you look at the poultry industry, then you can't, if you want to develop the poultry industry, you can't buy the feed from overseas. It will cost you high. You'll have to sell it at a higher cost. So we said that we have to produce also the ingredients for the feed, the livestock feed in the Caribbean. So when you look around the Caribbean, only Belize is producing corn. So we started out. We talked to our local business community, and we set up a consortium with them. We have been putting on the infrastructure in the Takama Savannah there. There are a lot of land space there. And last year we started out with 125 acres. This year we'll go between 3,000 to 4,000 acres. And in another 3 years from now, we'll expand that to about 25,000 acres where we'll be self-sufficient. So that's another industry that will be attractive to the young people. Corn and soya is very lucrative business. We have ready market in Guyana and the Caribbean. The poultry industry is a very lucrative industry. We have capacity in Guyana. We have market in Guyana and in the Caribbean. So those are two sectors. The livestock sector in terms of poultry product, and the livestock feed sector. We have a lot of attractiveness there for young people to be involved. And many of them already are coming on board. Then we're looking at the other sector within the Caribbean. We're looking at places like Barbados now. We will be building and developing the livestock sector through the Black Belly cooperation that we have in Barbados. We want to build a brand, because when you look in the Caribbean, you have the New Zealand lamb, you have the Australian lamb are taking over these markets. It might not be in Guyana because we have a lot of sheep in Guyana, but I am telling you around the Caribbean. So there was discussion with Prime Minister Motley and His Excellency the President, and we said that, look, we have the land space in Guyana, we have the all the necessary condition, and we can develop this industry. Barbados said they will put 1,000 sheep in it, and we said we will move there. As I said, that the ship left yesterday to go to Barbados. Hopefully by the end of this week or early next week, it will arrive with the first batch, about 300. But what we will be doing, we'll not only develop the black belly sheep, we will continue to develop that and produce that, but we will also crossbreed it and develop a new breed with the Guyana sheep and the black belly. So we'll have a new breed of sheep developed in that sector too, so that we can increase that livestock sector. And that will be very attractive. The president have already instructed that 30% of that, in that industry, 30% must go to women, 20% to young people. So we already divide that, so we have a number of young people will be in that project. Of course, also some young people from Barbados will be coming to Guyana to do involved in that activity. We have already, because of what we are doing in Guyana with the young people, we are seeing the interest around the Caribbean, across the Caribbean. Already we had close to about 15 young people from Barbados came to Guyana to train at the Guyana School of Agriculture. Right now, I have some from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They are being trained there. Trinidad and Tobago had a whole ministerial team in Guyana for 1 week to look what we are doing in the agriculture sector. And that showed the attractiveness of Guyana's agriculture sector, because if places like Trinidad and Tobago, who once was, the problem we had with Trinidad and Tobago. Up to now, we have the problem with the honey with Trinidad, but we are seeing now Trinidad and Tobago are opening up to Guyana because they want to replicate what we are doing in Guyana. When the president launched the Young People Project, the Agriculture Innovative Entrepreneurial Project there, it was replicated in Trinidad and Tobago by Prime Minister Rowley, but in a different name. But the point is that it came about from Guyana. It started in Guyana. And it showed that they took it to Trinidad and Tobago, and now Barbados is looking to replicate that. And I said, the Minister of Agriculture from St. Vincent and the Grenadines want me to go to there to set up a program like that in St. Vincent. So we are in demand, so to speak. We are in demand in the Caribbean, but we are looking also at what is taking place in Guyana, how we can increase production, what we must do to ensure that we increase production and productivity. And the government of Guyana recognized the challenge that we have been faced with. That is why the Vice President would have had discussion with stakeholders to look at large structures so that we can mitigate flooding. You know for a fact that the Hope Canal today is a savior for us. When we had the flood in 2021, Georgetown and the East Coast were spared tremendously. We had minor flood in these areas because of the excessive water drained to the Atlantic by the Hope Canal. Now we are looking to build those canals, or canals like those, Hope-like canals, in regions 3, 5, and 6. And we are looking to build a number of those structures around the country so that we can help to get these land drained as quickly as possible. Guyana is below the sea level, and to drain it in a gravity flow is very difficult sometimes. That is why we have to use the pump, but we will continue to do it. So to summarize, to say that the cash crop, or the traditional crops that we have been doing, what we will be doing, we have started to consolidate and expand. We have started to concentrate on various aspects of it. For example, yesterday I went to the islands in the Essequibo River. I went to Bonasica. I advised the farmers that we will work there to develop the root crops. I went to the rivers in Region 7, places like Batavia and Carao and so. I advised the farmers, let us work with them to develop the root crops. Why? Because the opportunities are tremendous in the Eastern Caribbean. Barbados alone want tons and tons of root crops, things like sweet potato, cassava, edo, dasheen, yam, all those things that they need it urgently. They want every single thing like those from us. Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, even Jamaica, as a large country like Jamaica that's doing so much agriculture, want those things from us in Guyana, looking forward to those things. And I think that the Agri-Investment Forum that we have had from the 19th to the 21st of May, That was a tremendous boost for us in Guyana. What happened there? We have seen a number of investors that came to that forum are now coming to invest in Guyana. We had the greenhouse that the company from Tobago, they have already come to Guyana and they will start with a 17,000 square feet of greenhouse to plant strawberries, raspberries, grapes, and that project will start within a month time from now. So what we are doing, we are consolidating and we are diversifying. So I mentioned the corn and soya. I mentioned the grapes, the strawberries, the raspberries. I talk about the carrots, the cauliflower, the broccoli. Those are things, new crops for us. So we are venturing out in the new crops and we are consolidating what we have and expand. So this brings me to the point of what more we will do. Now the president called me and said tonight that look, because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, we might have a shortfall with grains, especially wheat. What we can do, you look and see what you can do for help if we can produce our own wheat. So I have our officers work first of all with Mexico. We received 49 lines of wheat straight from Mexico, which we started out with trial indoor, and it was very successful. So Friday, and I will invite the media to come with me, we're going to harvest in that part of it, and the media will see the wheat that we produce, the trial wheat indoor. Now, the president would have led a delegation to Region 9 when we had the Agri-Investment Forum in Guyana. And a number of ministers and prime ministers and head of state, the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago went, the premier of Montserrat, the prime minister of Antigua and Barbuda, a number of ministers, and we met with the state of Roraima, the governor of the state of Roraima, and investors there. And when we met there, a number of investors are interested in coming to Guyana and different parts of the Caribbean. They want to go and invest. When President Bolsonaro was in Guyana, we had discussion and they told us that they are planting tropical wheat in their country. And we have been working with them since then. And Embrapa is like an institute where we have NARI. It's equivalent to the NARI that we have here, their research institute. So we are working with Embrapa. And last week I sent a team to Region 9. We have signed an MOU with the state of Roraima, and we have signed an MOU with the Santa Fe farm there. Our first outdoor trial will start by the end of September. And we are looking to do about 6 different varieties of wheat. And I am hoping that we will have more than one variety that will grow in Guyana that can become a candidate variety where we can start to do it in a large scale. So I'm very optimistic, Minister of Agriculture, next year, hopefully we can plant our own wheat and produce our own wheat. And that will be a tremendous boost for us because we will not only produce for ourselves, but we will produce for the entire Caribbean. And when you look at the food import bill that we talk about and people talk about, that is a very ambitious plan that we have to reduce it by 25% in 2025. I think if we can achieve all these production in terms of what we have now, the traditional crops, and what we are looking to diversify, Guyana alone, and when you look at other parts of the Caribbean, then that plan is achievable. We can reduce it. So this brings me to the point of the other part of agriculture, aquaculture and marine fishing. Now we have seen a decline in marine fishing, and the decline that we have saw in the marine fishing industry is due to the climate change. And I just made the point and say that over the last 2 years, we have had any dry spell. And because of the fresh water and the salinity of the water being compromised in terms of reducing, we have seen that the breeding ground for fish, they have moved and go in farther out where the salinity is high, right? Where they can better habitat they have for breeding. So that is why we have seen the low catches. And I have the FAO report here, right? This is the FAO report and potential causes for report low fishing. It says, I will share it with the media shortly, right? It says that what causes, and we are hearing people, the naysayers are talking about the island gas sector, right? But because of the low catches that we have experienced over a period of time, we have seen now over the last 3 months, for this year, an increase in a number of species For example, the red snapper, the trout, the gillbarker, those things that we used to have shortage now are increasing. But we are not satisfied with that. So the president said, let us move and see how we can help the small farmers. So when we look at the aquaculture in the brackish water shrimp, we have seen that when you look around the country, they were producing just around 12,000 kilograms per month. So we said that we can enhance and develop their farm, their ponds, and see if we can increase it. So our aim was to move it to about annually 500,000 kilograms. So we start about going about doing it, and we start to enhance the farm, put in the necessary infrastructure. We were able, and we have not completed the entire program as yet. We are about just 75% completed. And we have moved that industry from 12,000 kilograms per month to 70,000 last month. I am very optimistic that by the time we complete the entire project, we will move it to about 120,000 kilograms monthly. And annually, and that area alone, leaving out the other areas now, we are having requests from places like the Essequibo Coast, places on the East Coast, places in Region 5. This is why I'm talking about. This is from only Region 6, right? And in Region 6 alone, we can produce approximately, when we complete the entire project, 120,000 kilograms, which will give us 1.2 million kilograms annually in one area. What this show? This show that the rural people, the farmers in the rural area who were involved in shrimp production, are now having more money because they are producing more, and the demands are high, very, very high, right? And they are making more money. So more money are going into the rural economy in this industry. And we have now started also to help the other aquaculture farmers to develop their farms. And you know for a fact that His Excellency would have launched the fish cage culture. This morning I had a meeting with the Chinese ambassador, who we are working with to give us around close to about 100 cages. What we have done from the Ministry of Agriculture level, we will be purchasing almost 8 cages, so we can start the trial. We have already identified 2 areas in the country in Region 2, Kapoi and Mainstay. And within another month from now, we will set up those cages there and we'll start the trial there. But I am very optimistic that this cage culture will help a lot of rural community, especially in the interior, where you have running water and flowing rivers. So this is another way of helping small people to supplement their economy, right? So in generally, those are some of the successes in the agriculture sector. I just want to, I see you looking at your time, I just want to touch on the sugar industry. This is very important. And I saw Kaichur editorial today or yesterday that we're putting down money in a black hole. It's not a black hole, because when the car industry was in a crisis in the United States, GM, President Obama would have put money in the industry just to save people's job, right? So an industry like the sugar industry that employed most of the Guyanese people, are the largest single employer in our country. When we put money in there, we are not putting money in a black hole. We are putting money to ensure that we take care of the needs of those workers. Sugar for us in Guyana is our life, blood. You know that. Sugar have brought in almost all the achievement that we have had since colonial days, since Booker's days, since independence, revenue. Remember, over the years, the government used to take a levy out of sugar, every ton of sugar that export. A number of projects in this country were built with sugar revenue. And today, when sugar is in a crisis, it is our duty to take out sugar. And we are working assiduously to bring down the cost of production and eventually to break even. What we have seen the last government did was to close 4 sugar estates and put 7,500 sugar workers on the breadline. Last Thursday when I spoke in Parliament on the cost of living, and I said that 7,500 sugar workers were on the was placed on the breadline. MP Finance, Jorita Finance, disputed and said no, 5,000. But probably she doesn't know what took place in the sugar industry. You had a number of temporary workers who were dismissed and were never paid servants' pay because they were temporary workers. They were not qualified workers, permanent workers. So the servants' pay was only in this permanent workers were entitled for 5,100 of them. The rest were temporary workers who were dismissed, sent off the job immediately. Now we are moving to reopen the estate, and I see doubt again. They are doubting us. We are moving very aggressively at Rosal because I said that Rosal will be one of the first estate to reopen. We have to do it by phase. We can't open all one time. We can reopen Wales Sugar Estate back. Wales have been, they destroy Wales so much that we have to build a new factory there. So the president, both the president and the vice presidents said that we will ensure that the gas to shore facility they take up the employment problem that we have over there. But places like Rosal, Kanji, we don't have any other industry in Rosal Estate, in Rosal, Kanji, to take care of the labor force there that were dismissed. Rosal, in another year or two from now, by the end of next year, hopefully, or the first crop of 2024, Rosal will be in operation because we are expending large sum of money. And I am very, very optimistic that in the near future, we will continue to work to reduce the cost of production in Gaisuko and at the point of break even and then to profitability. We are looking, we are moving the packaging plan from and more. We'll be extending the one at Blairmont, putting another line at Blairmont, and we'll build a new packaging plant at Albion because Albion is the premier sugar estate for Gaisuko. Albion normally produces the largest amount of sugar in Gaisuko. And I think with the packaged sugar now, Gaisuko is getting more money for it, both locally and when they export it. That's the way to go, and we will continue to work to bring down the cost of production in Gaisuko. And sugar in Gaisuko, as long as we are in government, sugar will continue. Sugar will continue, and we will ensure that sugar become profitable once again. So generally, Travis, in summing up, I think we have had a lot of achievement, and this conversation can go on and on for a long time. I haven't touched the other sector like MMA, GMC, or what we have been doing with the Hydromet, GSA, Guyana Fisheries Service, Pesticide and Toxic Control. All those areas we can sit down again a day and go through it and see what we have been doing. But I want to say I'm very proud as Minister of Agriculture that we have moved the sector from a sector that was declining rapidly, a sector that was very unattractive, to a sector now that have whipped up new interests, where people now are coming back in droves to be involved in this activity, and where they see agriculture as the future to move this country forward and bring back Guyana as once again as the breadbasket of the Caribbean.
Thank you, Minister. I was actually going to ask you to sum it up and to give us a statement of where we're headed, but you already did that for us. So thank you for taking time out to sharing with us what is happening in the agriculture sector. It's an exciting time. We see transformation, we see development, and like you rightfully said, not only here, but across the CARICOM region. And I look forward to it and look forward to chatting with you again on what is the most important aspect of our survival, which is agriculture. So thank you for taking time to be here. And also thank you to you, our listeners and viewers of this program. I was your host, Travis Bruce. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.